Switching from the match to the links, the LSU women's golf team never seems to get as much publicity as the other sports here on campus. That didn't seem to deter the efforts of sophomore Megan McChrystal as she put together a 4-birdie, bogey-free round of 68 on Tuesday to win the individual championship of the Central District Women's Golf Invitational. Her play garnered her the first individual win by a women's golfer since Meredith Duncan in 2002. This also placed the Stuart, Florida native in the books as only the 13th women's golfer in his 30-year history at LSU to capture an individual title.
Before coming to LSU, Megan McChrystal was the second best high school player in the state of Florida her senior season.
Golf coach Karen Bonson had to log a lot of frequent flyer miles recruiting the talented sophomore. However, she had nothing on men's tennis coach Jeff Brown, who has 5 players on his roster that hail from outside the U.S.
So reporter Richard Fisher has a look at how the Tigers grab these great athletes from overseas.
Hundreds of Baton Rouge tennis fans packed W.T. Dub Robinson Stadium to watch the LSU men's tennis team compete. However, these fans will not cheer for a single American player this season. That's because all 6 members of LSU's starting lineup are international students. Coach Jeff Brown says LSU must recruit international players due to the lack of talent in Louisiana and in the surrounding states.
You find out which players are interested in coming overseas because they don't have the same opportunity, to combine athletics and academics in most countries.
But in sports like tennis with small recruiting budgets, coaches cannot afford to travel across the ocean to recruit players.
We have former players that are out there in other countries that say, hey coach, I have this guy you might want to look at, or the player himself contacts us.
Current LSU player and Iowa native James Kluski met Coach Brown while playing in a junior tennis tournament in Florida. After earning 3 letters in as many seasons, Kluski helped recruit his countryman Mark Botel to the Tigers.
James wrote to me and just said, the SEC conference is good and to look at LSU, and I took a recruiting trip here, just signed on the recruiting trip.
But not all international students are from English-speaking nations. Coach Brown says LSU's requirement for the test of English as a foreign language hinders recruiting from some countries.
We're one of the highest TOEFLs in the conference, so that's been difficult. That's kind of changed the countries that we recruit from.
International Admissions Assistant Director Marina Pereira works closely with students who have taken the TOEFL.
Each school has the right to decide what they would like to set as the minimum required score. We require 550.
Sebastian Carlson of Sweden and Julien Gauthier of French Canada achieved the required score and are hitting winners for the Tigers. For Tiger TV, I'm Richard Fisher.
The men's tennis team is second only to the LSU diving and swimming teams in numbers of foreign athletes. This season, both teams combined had 10 international competitors.
Well, it's time for our first commercial break, but when we come back, Hobie will be here with your weekend preview, as well as a developing story in LSU football recruiting.
And later, we'll have all your scores and highlights from intramural basketball last night.
Welcome back to Sports Showtime, folks. Well, National Signing Day was 2 weeks ago from yesterday, but the number 1 prospective player still hasn't made his mind up just yet. Running back Bryce Brown, who is a verbal commit to Miami, may be thinking otherwise. The 6', 216-pounder said earlier this week that he will be visiting LSU on the weekend of February 27th. Brown talked about his visit to LSU, saying, I want to see the offensive game plan, meet the people, and get a feel for the city of Baton Rouge. Brown will make a final visit to Miami from March 3rd through 5th during the team's spring training drills. Brown will sign his letter of intent on March 16th. Well, the SEC championships began in record-breaking fashion Wednesday for the men and women's swimming and diving teams. While the Lady Tigers posted a record time in the 200-yard medley, the men captured both the 200-yard medley and 800 freestyle. Senior Julius Glockner took down a 9-year-old 200 free record with his 1 minute 36.09 second leadoff split in the 800 free relay. On the boards, divers Matt Vicky and Katie Liebert recorded top 16 finishes, while senior Nico Dowman reached the finals in the 1-meter springboard. Finals begin tonight at 5:30 p.m. at the Auburn Aquatic Center. Well, the LSU swimmers and divers are not the only ones competing over the next few days. For information on the remaining sports, it's time for your weekend preview. Well, the newly ranked LSU basketball team will be taking on yet another SEC rival this weekend as they face off against Auburn. The 23rd ranked Tigers will be in play Saturday evening at 7 inside the Maravich Center, looking to extend their SEC winning streak to 11 games. For a deeper look at Saturday's game, we now kick it over to in-house basketball expert Jason Templin.
Thanks, Hobie. For LSU's Saturday game against Auburn, LSU's going to need to grind out another win. Without point guard Bo Spencer, the Tigers need to slow down and rely on that half-court offense. LSU out-rebounded Arkansas yesterday, and they need more of the same against Auburn. Chris Bass shouldered much of the point guard load against Arkansas, dishing out 5 assists against the Razorbacks. Auburn's not as talented as Arkansas, so expect an easy win for LSU. Back over to you, Hobie.
Thanks, Jason. Well, after coming off of a huge win against 9th-ranked Florida, the LSU women's basketball team will look for their 7th SEC win of the season as they take on Georgia tonight in Athens. Georgia is currently ranked 1 spot behind the Lady Tigers in the SEC standings and are looking to close the gap heading toward the end of the season. The Lady Tigers will be back in action this weekend as they host Kentucky on Sunday in the PMAC. Well, the Lady Tigers of the Diamond head into action as well this weekend. The LSU softball team will stay in their new home of Tiger Park this weekend to compete in their 3rd national tournament of the year, the Easton Purple and Gold Challenge. Last weekend, the 22nd-ranked Lady Tigers defeated 5th-ranked Texas A&M, but fell to both Ohio State and Sam Houston State in extra innings. The Lady Tigers are currently 6-4 on the year. The tournament will kick off Friday and end with bracket play on Sunday. And after coming off of their own standout win against Alabama, the LSU gymnastics team will be hosting a tri-meet in the PMAC on Friday. The 10th-ranked Lady Tigers will be hosting both North Carolina and Illinois Chicago during the meet. The ladies are set to hit the mats at 7 o'clock. Sports Showtime caught up with Coach Dee Bro to find out just how big the win against Alabama will affect the team this weekend.
Well, you beat a team like Alabama the week after you beat a team like Florida. It's a confidence booster, and it kind of sends a message through the team that what we're doing and what we're saying are the right things.
For live video of the tri-meet, you can log on to lsusports.net. Well, both the men's and women's tennis teams will be headed into action as well this weekend. The men, who recently moved into the top 15 in the national rankings, are traveling to Columbus to take on number 1 Ohio State. The Buckeyes are currently 9-1 overall this season and also have the number 1 tennis player in the nation, Brian Kaneko. The women's team will be staying at home this weekend as they take on Florida State and the Southern Lady Jaguars. Both of those matches will be in the Dub starting at noon. Well, those of you not making the trip to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, don't worry, you won't be left bored in Baton Rouge. A few of LSU's teams will continue to play their games over the break. On Mardi Gras Day, an SEC matchup of epic proportions will take place in the PMAC as the men's basketball team hosts the Florida Gators at 8 o'clock p.m. The game will be broadcasted live on ESPN. The Lady Tigers softball team will welcome Southern Miss to Tiger Park on Ash Wednesday. The game kicks off at 6 o'clock p.m. Wednesday also brings the first midweek game for the LSU baseball team. The Tigers will host crosstown rival Southern at the new Alec Bach Stadium. The game is set to begin at 6:30 p.m. Well, that does it for your weekend preview, but when we come back, Mary Claire will be in the forum with 2 of Sports Showtime's analysts to break down big news in LSU sports. Stay tuned. You're watching Sports Showtime here on Tiger TV.